And we are back and live again.
I don't think we're ever not going to be live.
Right, this is the new norm. Right, so I should stop saying that in the intro then, because this is just the standard now. You don't say, hey everyone, standard.
Or maybe notify people when we're not live.
That'd be any time that we aren't live.
Yeah. It's just not as exciting, is it, to say we are not live?
Yeah, right now, not live. Well, I don't even know how we would push that message out, but the point is, the Vacuous perspective's back. We've done some stuff, presumably, and now we're doing it again. So this is it.
I had a quick look at last week's episode just before we jumped on, just to see what we're dealing with now that we're live, what it looks like, what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. I look like I'm in the X-Files.
You got a little green thing around you. Is that what you're worried about?
Yeah. I don't mind it.
Well, you got
just a little bit.
Okay, just to let people in on the movie magic here, there is the remnants of the green screen. It hasn't done a really great job cropping out the green screen. It's having trouble with the edges, okay? And I think because I set up this live streams setup relatively quickly, it's gone to the second on the list. It's second on the list for me to fix. It's second.
You're sort of beaming me in somehow.
Well, I'm also beamed in. It's just my key's a lot cleaner than yours.
Yes.
But we can fix that. That's
no,
easy.
No, I'm not concerned about it at all. I
like the X-Files tinge.
Yes. I do feel like I have a hue.
Yes. Well, no, you're. It's an aura.
A mysterious hue or aura. Yes. I quite like it.
Yes.
I might, because I don't want to break the illusion, but we're not actually sitting next to each other at a desk facing the camera.
That would be wild.
Know that? Yeah.
No, we're not. People may think we're in the same room, and I think that's the idea. But no, you're right. We're in completely different places.
I don't have a beverage.
Oh no, you should do that.
My goal is to get big enough that I can sort of order someone around. I can be like, yeah, I can get me a beverage.
Right. Do you think it's a size issue?
Here.
You think it's a size issue?
What size?
You think it's a size issue? Oh, you mean big enough? You mean famous enough?
Yeah.
You want to be a bit of a prima donna.
You
want to be a bit of a what's the word?
A diva.
A diva.
Ooh, diva.
You know, they talk about people's writers for their shows. You know, like who's asking for the weird shit on their writers. You know, some people might just want a six pack and they're all good to go. Other people might say, you know, the wacky stuff. I'm talking like, specific lollies, very specific lollies. Like maybe you want party mix, right? But you only want raspberries. So you want them to open 50 packs of party mix and just get all the raspberries out and put them in a bowl. I won't eat them.
You can't just have party mix. So you can't just have a bag of raspberries. You have to have picked. I want someone to have labeled over pick, because you can buy it. Of course, you can buy a pack.
It's about care. It's that's how they would show care, is by making sure that all the lollies are correct. I'm not going to eat any of them, just to be clear.
I have a rule. I don't have many rules.
Yes.
But one of mine is that I only eat retro party mix.
What does that mean?
There's two types of party mix. So Allen's has...
Are you talking about the one that has the teeth in it?
They're smaller teeth. The retro party teeth are a little bit smaller than your regular teeth.
Mm.
I don't know if all teeth have just gotten shorter in the
I think they probably
economy.
have. They probably have, because like they were always big, weren't they? They were the biggest lolly in there.
They were.
It was a full set of it was a full set of chompers back then.
Like even the banana's smaller now.
Is it?
Yeah, but the banana is in normal party mix, and that's probably the main reason why I don't get party mix. But retro party mix, I'm just getting a pick up now, so I can just confirm. It has. This isn't right.
It's not right.
I'm going big W. No, there's a picture that just wasn't right. Okay, we got pineapples. Good, right? They're great.
Pineapple's
How
good.
Do you feel about
yeah,
those?
Pineapple's good. Yeah. Tick.
They've got Coke bottles, but they're not they're not sugary ones.
They're just the soft sort of jelly sort of ones.
Yeah, they're not my favorite.
No, they're still good.
Yeah, they've got smaller teeth. They've got racing cars.
No. Don't brush over the smaller teeth thing. That is the worst lolly in the whole world. Anyone who likes the teeth lollies needs to be checked out and examined.
I can handle it. I can handle all of these, even the milk bottles. I'll eat.
Milk bottles, yeah, no, I could do without them. But that's why it's a party mix, so you don't have to like them all.
Hey, now that I'm looking at it, I don't really like these that much. Strawberries and cream, average. Raspberries, I think's good,
very,
but
very
also
fine. Yeah, if
fine,
you had the choice
fine.
between a pineapple and a raspberry, you'd pick the pineapple every day.
Every day. And then there's lips, which I'm not sure what the difference is between the lips and the raspberries. Yeah, they're both red. They're small.
They're not clouds. Red.
Similar
clouds?
size to a cloud.
Okay.
Honey bears.
What the fuck
this
is
a
a
point
honey
of difference.
bear? What the hell is a honey bear? I've never even heard of that.
They're one of the best ones.
I never even heard of that.
Have you heard of that?
Lived,
my friend. Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't just heard of it.
Right.
I seek them out.
Yeah, right. What do they look like?
They look like a jelly baby.
They look like a jelly baby.
But they've got arms that are pointing
Circular?
out.
Pointing out. I know these things.
Jelly babies
I'll pass on those ones. Man, you're getting a good share of this party mix so far. Are there bananas?
No, that's why I get the retro party mix. The bananas don't fit in. They don't fit the theme of the Juby lolly.
Of course they do.
No, they've got a powdery texture.
But they fit the theme. We've got pineapples. Let's have a banana.
No, but the pineapple is still a Juby gelatin thing. The banana almost cracks when you eat it.
Love it.
Buy a bag of bananas.
Yeah.
Don't pollute the lollies with that rubbish. Hey, so when we were checking if our cameras were working,
yes,
I held up a Horus bird
statue.
Yes, from Egypt.
That was made in Egypt. Yes.
But relatively modern. It's not
not
an
ancient
ancient
Egypt.
Horus.
No,
I didn't manage to extricate that from Egypt.
Nor would you. Yeah, that would be a pretty scary thing to attempt.
But it has a Eye of Horus conveniently carved into the side of it.
It does.
Have you seen the Eye of Horus superimposed on the pineal gland, a cross section of the pineal gland in the head?
That makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Check this out.
I can picture it in my mind. It's the same as that, what you call, I don't know if you would call it that, but the revelation that, man creating Adam, God creating Adam, God and Adam, the famous Sistine Chapel thing, is God's riding around in a brain. And I sort of pointed that out, and you know that he's literally riding around inside a brain thing. If you ever needed more sort of cryptic evidence, if you want to call it that, if a painting done in the 15th century can reveal anything, it's that God comes from within almost. It's a product of ourselves, which is almost the opposite of God creating man. It's actually man creating God, which is a fascinating concept. But I loved the fact that sort of imagery, that encoded messaging stuff of God's riding around in a brain. Eye of Horus is a pineal gland. Are these guys just opening up people's heads, having a look inside, like Da Vinci? Because Da Vinci was doing that. He was opening up corpses for funsies and having a look in the brain. He was having a bit of a poke around.
Mate, he was a bit of a kooky dude, wasn't he?
Kooky
he was
dude.
Up to a lot. He had his fingers in a lot of pies.
Kooky
pies.
I'm
saying.
Yeah, bloody kooky pies.
I mean, he was drawing pictures of helicopters, and he was out there.
He's an absolute moron.
I'm not sure about the moron. He was a polymath. And I think a polymath's like the antithesis of a moron.
I guess by moron, I would mean to his peers, right? At that point in history, I mean, some of the stuff Tesla said.
Yeah.
You'd go, that's fucking outrageous, you idiot. So imagine his little picture of a helicopter and him showing his sort of mates. They're going, Leo, you're off the deep end, bro. You got no idea what you're talking about, man. This is not rooted in reality in the slightest. You know what I mean? It'd be easy to regard this guy as a bit of a kook.
Yeah, maybe. But he also walked the walk. See, he was kooky, but then at the same time, he was also an amazing artist, right? If someone's telling you a whole bunch of complicated stuff and he's a mathematician, he's a designer, he's an engineer, he's all these things.
Inventor, yeah.
Yeah, and he tells you some stuff, and then he
Mm,
starts painting the Sistine Chapel.
mm.
You'd just kind of be like, well, this guy's got some actual skills. Like, he's not a complete numpty. Whereas when I tell you stuff, and then you see me just like trip over and fall on my ass, and I can't control myself.
We have a very biased opinion of historical figures. We really don't know what they were like in day-to-day life. I mean, we've got a good idea of their body of work and maybe their philosophy to an extent, but to say he wouldn't have tripped over the bloody entertainment cabinet, that's a stretch. He absolutely could have. He could have been an absolute nightmare to deal with on a personal level. We just don't have any idea. And he could have been clumsy as all shit.
He painted the Mona Lisa, of course.
Yes, allegedly.
Allegedly, the Last Supper.
Allegedly again. Well, again, that's just it's called a Christian art motif. That Last Supper thing has been replicated by thousands of artists over the time, and it is interesting to see the differences because there was sort of by Catholic decree from a pope-like figure. No, from a pope-like figure, they would say, look, if you're going to do a Last Supper, if you're going to do an Adoration of the Magi, if you're going to do a Birth of Jesus paint, if you're going to do a crucifixion painting, here's what it needs to have. It needs to have in rye up the top.
Rules.
It's got rules, conventions, you'd call them, conventions. And these were established by the church, probably punishable by death, don't know. And people followed the rules. One of the big things in the Da Vinci Code is the fact that Leo was kind of doing a middle finger to the church and going, no, I'm going to begin a revelation here by definitely painting a woman next to Jesus, which if you look at other Last Supper if you look at other Last Supper paintings that have fit this convention, I mean, for one, the Last Supper makes no sense. They're all sitting on one side of the table, like we're sitting right now on the show. We're sitting alongside each other.
That is weird, isn't it?
So we're not
I've
around.
never thought about that.
We're not around the table.
Yeah, who sits like that?
It's basically a gather round, guys. We're doing a photo for the yearbook, the Bible. We're doing a Bible yearbook photo, and all the apostles are getting in, and they all got in the photo. That's what it looks like. So when you see the figure next to Jesus, it's 100% in the Da Vinci Code. They ham it up. They do some color stuff to make her look even more feminine. But she does. The figure does look feminine to me, 100%. It looks Da Vinci's depiction of the Last Supper. It looks like a woman. You don't have to touch up the painting or do anything to it. It just looks like a lady. And another point of the Da Vinci Code is that the V shape that gets formed by their two bodies is sort of pointed to as a bit of a clue that what we're actually talking about is the womb, like of the mother of Jesus's children. Therefore, there's some sort of like royal Jesus-y bloodline going about.
Yeah, he was firing shots.
Maybe, but that's just Da Vinci Code. That's Da Vinci Code law. That's not real law.
Yes, okay. But I mean, these paintings have a lot of symbolism and meaning, particularly in this Renaissance phase.
Especially if it's regimented. By the church. They're saying you have to put this in. You have to make sure there's 12 disciples, X, Y, Z. They got to follow all the rules. Anyway, yeah, go on.
It's interesting you say that. So this ChatGPT is quite misleading here. It says the first and most famous painting of the Last Supper was created by Leonardo da Vinci between 1945 and 1495.
I was about to say.
And
during the war, what a nightmare.
And then it says, however, Leonardo was not the first artist to depict the Last Supper scene.
So it just contradicts itself.
Why would it say the first? Yeah. Exactly.
It's probably, the first famous one, the most notable. I don't know what metric it's using there, but apparently it's using some sort of metric.
So they reckon 6th century, after Jesus, of course, is the earliest surviving images of the Last Supper.
Sorry, early 6th century.
It just says 6th century.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so 600 years after the big guy.
Yeah. 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 After all the crew were around. I mean, it's a pretty famous time. 1 AD. It's a pretty 33 AD. It's a pretty famous time. We got a lot going on back then.
Do you want to hear something saucy?
Always.
So I understand that one of Leonardo da Vinci's pupils,
Yes.
students, painted a naked version of the Mona Lisa, and it is in the Louvre.
Wow.
But I don't know if it's on display.
That's interesting.
I haven't fact checked that, but I've heard it before, and I want to believe it.
Yeah, look, there's even been paintings that people have said, is this a Da Vinci? And it turns out to be one of his many students or proteges. So that does happen, and there's even confusion around that. But yeah, do a nude Mona Lisa. Man, put the nude filter on it. I don't know.
Is she at the height? I can't remember. Is she at the height? Presumably, her chest must be in the frame. Because
yeah, so boobs are out. The boobs
are
must
out.
be out. Yeah, they must be.
Yeah. I wonder if that exists. I mean,
well, why did you just threw it out there? The name of the episode right now is Big Claims. So you've done one. We're one down already. You've made this claim that Leonardo da Vinci's protege was a bit of a scumbag.
No, scumbag.
Well,
it was interesting.
You don't think it's a bit disrespect to the Mona Lisa, to the big M dog?
I think it's pretty comical. I assume they have a good relationship.
Well, there was a lot of nudity back then in art as well. Probably, there still is now. I mean, there's nudity on the telly. So
I think it's big ups to Leonardo. Right. Yeah, I reckon he's going, mate. I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. You just need to take it a step further.
Who was cutting all the dicks off the statues? Who came through and started cutting all the dicks off? I heard there was it's in Rome. Like, a lot of the statues have the penises removed, and the reason is because some guy came into power and went, I hate this. I hate all this nudity shit. This is debauchery. This is why Babylon went down. All this sort of stuff. And he started just cutting dicks off. Maybe he was.
Yeah.
Maybe
or
he was.
Intimidated. Yeah. There's all these schlongs around me. And maybe it was creating.
Maybe he was homophobic. Maybe he was gay. There's
Stop rubbing it in my face.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he had that sort of attitude.
Exactly.
Well, I know in Egypt there's a lot of dicks chipped off the Osiris kind of, what do you call them?
Isn't that not part of the myth? Sort of the motifs of the myth is that his penis is involved.
So let's go back to Horus very quickly. This falcon,
the bird.
Depicted as a falcon or a falcon-headed human.
Yeah, a hybrid. Yeah,
I think essentially, and I'm not going to get this right, but Osiris was the older brother, and Seth was the younger brother, and of Ra, the sun, or there's the main god, and Osiris was with his sister Isis. And he was entitled to everything. He was the big dog. He was the leader. He was the firstborn. So I think we have a little bit of a Prince Harry situation going on.
And these are gods, right? These aren't a pharaonic. They're not a pharaonic family, are they? They're like literally gods.
Yes, they are gods. But I think the story is supposed to be on Earth.
Right. I think I've heard that to be the case as well. But who knows?
Seth gets really jealous of his brother.
Yeah, obviously.
They're both with their sisters, by the way. Osiris is with his the oldest sister, Isis, and Seth is with another sister.
Yeah,
no one knows her name.
Yeah, that's how you did it.
Standard
back then.
stuff. Yeah, incest is pretty standard. Yeah.
Pretty standard.
Then Seth gets upset. He somehow lures Osiris into a trap, and he cuts him up into 14 pieces.
Yep.
And he distributes 13 pieces around Egypt. And the 14th piece, being his dong, he throws into the river and a fish eats it. Isis is pretty butthurt that her husband is dead. And so she goes on a mission and she goes around collecting the 13 pieces of Osiris up.
So presumably in this sort of scenario, you can just pop all the pieces back together and Bob's your father's brother. Is that sort of how
I think
it
it's
works?
a Frankenstein.
Just assemble
Frankenstein situation, yeah.
Or does they just put it on the ground and then like Liquid Metal Man Terminator 2, it just sort of forms together?
They're gods. You just have to have imagination.
Oh no,
you have to have.
I'm just trying to get the science down. You know.
You have to have all the pieces.
No,
'cause
but
they
what was
can't
her
seem
thinking? She's like, I bet you if I get all these bits together, it'll just work.
She's pretty impressive. She
Yeah.
found them all as well. That's a good job. It reminds me of Grand Theft Auto, and you have to go around, Grand Theft Auto 5, and you go around collecting bits of, archaeology and things like that from around the map.
Mm.
So she finds the 13, puts them all together.
She's doing a side
He's
quest.
dongless.
She's doing a
Yeah,
side.
she's doing a
She's
side quest.
changed the side quest into her main quest, and she's fucking going for it.
She needs 100% completion.
Yeah, she wants it. She wants to start Easter egg hunting.
Because the dong was irrecoverable,
Right.
she puts a golden phallus in place of his dong.
Right, he gets a strap on.
A golden strap on.
Golden strap on.
She somehow is able to have sex with this corpse, this Frankenstein corpse with the golden dong.
Right.
And they conceive Horus.
Horus is born.
He's the valid heir to the throne.
He's the Falcon freak man.
Yep.
Who came out of this obvious good union.
Yes, a very important individual. And then he has the Lion King moment where Simba grows up. He takes on his uncle Seth for the throne. They have a fight. He loses one of his eyes, and I believe that's why they depict one eye being the Eye of Horus. But that's, the story changes a lot. But this story was absolute Egyptian lore. It is repeated again and again and again with minor variations. It's recorded hundreds of times.
Yes. So we've got a pretty good idea of what the story is, the mythos behind it.
And they knew it was very important. It was the foundation of their whole religion. I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, so the Eye of Horus, right? So now we're at the Eye of Horus. That's a particular feature. Now, if you do a cross-section of the human brain,
yes,
which we've only actually we've only found out about the pineal gland recently, which is regarded as the seat of consciousness in some religions, in Buddhism, things like that. Pineal gland is regarded as the seat of consciousness. They have a symbol, which is their main symbol, that is pretty damn close. Like, if not perfectly, if you're going to depict a symbol that is the pineal gland. I mean, it's a match. I'm not saying
what's the Horus,
it could have been a coincidence.
What does the Eye of Horus represent? Is it a wisdom thing?
I thought it's basically God. It's like the omniscient. It's basically the all-seeing eye.
Before we started chatting today, you showed me the Horus statue, and I posed the question, what about the Eye of Ra? Because I've seen it in Stargate. I know about it in Stargate. Ra is the central antagonist of the first movie, and so it's very important. And I looked it up, and it does exist, and it's not the same sort of shaped eye, I would say. I'm going to say this. The Eye of Ra looks like a masculine eye with all the trimmings. It's got its little spinning spiral motif coming off, just like Horus's does.
See it. Yeah.
But it seems like a more masculine eye, and the Eye of Horus seems like a little bit more feminine eye. If you look at them side by side, you could just draw a nose in the middle, and you got a face.
A really weird face. Yeah,
quite a strange face.
Kind of winking at you a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But the Eye of Horus is symbolic of destructive power, and it says it's a symbol of power and violence, protective and destructive, associated with the sun. It can be a symbol of protection, a representation of the sun's power, or even a weapon in some myths. So, very interesting.
The best, I'm not going to be able to remember this, but the best sort of analogy or explanation I've heard of the Eye of Horus is that there's some kind of constellation that depicts Horus. I don't really understand, because there's an Osiris one. Like, we know Osiris. That's the pan. That's the saucepan that we look at. That's with the Orion's belt.
Yeah, I mean, Egyptian gods and the stars have always been linked. Yeah.
And on this, so Osiris is that Orion's belt is the belt on the figure that is Osiris,
which is just Orion here.
Yes,
because Orion's belt is just the belt of Orion. A very important. I think it's the most recognizable constellation. When people go outside, they could probably spot Orion first because of the belt.
And one of them's apparently supposed to pick Taurus. I can't remember why, but at the right time of year, around 3000 BC, the way the constellation was presenting in the sky obscured, because it was quite low on the horizon, and things change over time with precession of the equinoxes. One of his eyes got obscured, and so the myth is matching the heavens, where they go, the story is that Horus had a fight with Seth, and now he's lost one of his eyes.
So essentially, they're telling you about the stars.
Exactly.
Which,
and I was like, that.
If you're talking about the
sense.
gods, right? Like, if you wanted to tell stories about the gods, well, all you've got are the stars to tell that story.
It's like a picture,
and it's
a rolling
another
picture.
Yeah, it is. It's a cosmic, very larger than life thing, and it's another link towards Lion King as well. You talked about Lion King. I mean, Scar and Seth. I mean, that's obvious. Even Seth is sort of biblical as well, so that name sort of carried forward. But Lion King, I believe that Mufasa, whilst appearing to Simba as a cloud in the sky, hello, I'm Darth Vader, your dad, all that stuff. He actually sort of disappears into the night sky and like blinks off, and I think there's some sort of star thing about dying and becoming a star, which is so pharaonic that it's no surprise. I mean, the Lion King's set in Africa, right? I mean, so it's not a big stretch. Similar ideas are kicking about.
Or the Pharaoh is supposed to be the human embodiment of Horus now on Earth, so they're carrying forward that they've got some kind of legitimacy. They're supposed to be they're the one.
But we know. I know. I've been on Wikipedia, so I know that I've looked at all the dynasties of Egypt. I've clicked through every dynasty of ancient Egypt, and look, Horus must have skipped a couple because there's like wars and stuff, internal struggles, people take over, and does Horus just not give a shit who's running the joint as long as someone's running the joint and he's got them in him, like him in them? I don't know how this works.
And they have to come up with legitimacy stories to convince the people that they are the one. And there's been a few of those as well.
It's actually amazing that it didn't change as much as that it didn't change over that long period, because it did change. There was Akhenaten, who sort of went around saying, I'm the one and only God, and one God, I'm the guy, or whatever. That was pretty gnarly. Like for a civ that's been going for 1,000 years or more at that point, to just all of a sudden change the rules. That's wild.
It's highly relevant today because he started monotheism.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Apparently, he goes down in history as being, the man in that respect. And then,
do you think it's just about efficiency and saving time and stuff like that? Because you would have to pray to a certain god to get a certain harvest done. You'd have to pray to another god for like the weather. You'd have to pray for another god to get your food delivery on time, and another god for this. So he just went, fuck it. One dude, send them all up. He handles everything. He's a one-stop shop.
Convenient.
He has departments.
Yeah.
I say he. I don't mean it. It has departments. It has people working under them, angels, whatever. I don't give a shit. He's got things happening. He's a very busy guy.
Yeah, I like that. And it works for busy people like ourselves. I mean, I can't keep track of all the comings and goings of these gods, the Greek gods. I've been trying to get my head around those for ages. There's too many. There's too many backstories, like it's like the Marvel universe where you have to be following what they're all up to, who they're all banging.
I think it's a bit like the news. There are people who don't engage or connect with the news in any way, shape or form. Like if the news comes on, turn it off. If there's a newspaper in my general vicinity, get it away from me. All that sort of stuff. I mean, it's really hard to avoid news nowadays because it's filling up our social feeds and all that sort of stuff. It's really difficult to be a zero news person. But there would be people kicking around ancient Egypt who just don't have time to keep up with all the manga, who are like, what did the gods do? Holy shit, really? Like, it's a bit of a surprise to them. They're like, man, I haven't been keeping up with this at all. I haven't been staying up to date. What, one god now? That's gnarly. Really? Fucking hell. Yeah, there would have been some pretty...
That one god was either depicted by or I don't know, even physically the sun.
Mm.
And so Egypt is commonly regarded, like when you say the Eye of Ra, the only thing I'm hesitant about that is Ra's supposed to be the also equivalent to the sun.
No. The symbol was apparently like his daughter, Ra's daughter, was going to go on a murder spree, and Ra calmed her down. That's why it's a symbol of sort of destructive power as well, because, you know, I don't know if Ra got home from work one day, it was like, man, it's a shit day keeping the sun going today or whatever, and she arced up or something, and she was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to go out and start murdering. And he's like, whoa, don't.
Whoa.
Calm down. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Look, I don't know how it went down. Wasn't there. But no, it's good stuff. We're very lucky, you know. We live in this sort of information age where we have access to 3,500 years of history that we can't really contextualize or anything, because we'd probably just view it all as one thing, like, oh, ancient Egypt, oh, it was a long time.
Yeah,
you know, but it was pretty consistent.
It changes
but it's like,
over time.
It would have
well.
changed a lot.
Totally. Yeah. There was different periods, particularly the only periods that matter. Honestly, there's like, I don't know, 30 dynasties, let's say, about each one, about 100 years, let's just say, on like, you know, on average, make it easy. The only ones that matter are really the first to the 6th dynasty. Then about basically the 18th dynasty. That was Ramses II. Or maybe a little bit before that. And that's about it. And that's when they did Valley of the Kings and stuff. And the rest of them are all like, I think they call them intermediate periods, and like really fuck all happened. Go right to the end. Go to Cleopatra. You know, a bit of
Ptolemaic dynasty.
Bit going on there.
Bears. Nah, it's all bad.
So you actually don't need to know that much.
No, but that's why pre-dynastic Egypt becomes this fascinating place to get into, because
there's a big difference between 6th dynasty and even 16th. Millennia has gone by.
Yeah. And pre-dynastic Egypt goes back pretty far as well. So
yes,
it's really difficult to even begin to get a grasp on any of this.
I like things that we don't have a grasp on, because you can just, you know, it's all conjecture. You don't really have to explain anything. It's fun as well. It's fun because your mind can be a bit creative.
It wasn't really a big claim. It was one of those, he's the kind of guy that could just call you up, and the first thing he's going to say is, you know, did you see, and it's going to be something off the wall. It's going to be like, did you see the latest alien thing or UFO thing? Or, oh man, you've probably seen, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's really hard to even stay on top of all that sort of universe.
Do I know who this is?
Yeah, you'd know him.
Oh, good.
So he comes on the other day and he's like, oh, I heard this weird thing about ancient Egyptian statues. And I said, what's that? And he said, they're symmetrical. They're perfectly symmetrical. And I was like, well, what's the claim then? And he's saying that it's some sort of, you could be using some sort of like casting technology or something where they're casting a symmetrical image, and that's why it's perfect.
Not just hand carved, yeah.
And look, I didn't look into it a hell of a lot. I think you could. I think if anyone's going to hand carve something perfectly symmetrical, it's going to be the fucking ancient Egyptians.
You can't hand carve something perfectly symmetrical.
So what? So have you heard about this before?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
it's one of those. It's one of those really sexy. Well, we don't know how they made them.
Right.
You can't make those with. They carve things diorite. They carve diorite, which is 9 on the hardness scale that goes up to 10.
Yeah. There's not much.
I assume
diorite and granite are in the same sort of category.
I think granite's even, I mean, similar, harder than granite.
Similar.
Harder than granite.
Very similar. I think
it's the hardest rock we've got. And they have carved with, our understanding is they only had copper tools.
Yeah, is it time to put that away? That kind of
doesn't make
bullshit?
any sense.
Is it time to put that bullshit talk away? I don't know. They keep saying it.
The problem is, how do you can't explain it, and then people start doing dumb shit like just saying stupid stuff. You're like, no, let's just live with we don't know how they did it. That's all we can do. We can't. There's no evidence to suggest otherwise. Okay. All the evidence we have, you cannot do what they've done.
Yeah, but
and I'm
for
not
example,
saying,
right? If we open up a tomb, it hasn't been opened in thousands of years. They crack it open, and inside is just a a perfectly functioning laser cutting machine that they've been cutting diorite
Wouldn't even
with.
help. Doesn't even help.
What do you
the
mean it doesn't
story.
help?
No, that doesn't help. Now, how have they got why it's so out of place? That how do they power that thing?
All
That
I'm
just makes
saying
things
is
even
that
more complicated.
No. Okay, well, let's say it's some water-driven or magnet-driven or something like that driven machine that can cut hard stone, and we discover that, and then all of a sudden we can go, oh, okay, we can throw away that they were only using copper tools, and now we have this new paradigm that we can explore.
Laser beams.
Well, not necessarily laser beams, but sure, laser beams. I mean, big claims, right? Laser beams, I mean, you know, it solves a couple of problems.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, it solves a couple of problems. Must be a nightmare, like being an ancient Egyptian debunker when people come up with stuff with like, so come on, just tell me, because I've heard stuff about the copper tools, that if you were using your copper tool on the granite, you would need 1,000 copper tools behind you, because this one's going to immediately become useless. Immediately.
And remember, they cut all those massive 100-ton blocks from granite and transported them, and they don't know how they cut the granite.
Yeah, and that's the most impressive thing about the whole thing, because I don't know how they figured it out, but they're like, look, we've got this granite quarry, it's in Aswan, it's a few hundred k's away, we can get you the rocks, don't worry about that, just build the rest of the sucker out of all this shit you've got hanging about nearby. I mean, it still came from, what, like 30 kilometres away, the quarries that built Giza is still like 30 odd k's away or something. Limestone's a lot easier. If you told me, you know, we've got to cut some rocks, I want to be on the limestone team. I don't want to be on the granite team. That sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Oh my God, on so many levels, logistically. I've told you this stat before, but that there's more stone in the Great Pyramid. I remember there's 3 of them, but you know, the Great Pyramid is slightly bigger than the second one and way bigger than the third one. More stone in the Great Pyramid of Giza than all the churches and cathedrals in England since the time of Christ.
Yeah. Yeah,
you've had 2 millennia of venerating. England was pretty big on Christianity.
Yeah, they loved it.
2 millennia of
there's a couple of churches in England
building
yep.
churches and things, revering, and these kept building because they fall over. So you have churches for a period of time. You build new ones, you build bigger ones, you build better ones.
They did like
more
to build
stone.
bigger ones.
We're not even. We're still. I don't know how long until they catch up.
Yeah,
they haven't even reached that much stone, and technology was only improving theoretically.
Yeah,
in the last.
That's the question, man.
It was 3,000 years afterwards.
It's becoming harder and harder to believe that that particular sort of sequence, if you like. That is very strange.
Yeah, I could keep going, but I think I have to pivot. So everyone's here to hear about the big reveal of life on another planet.
Is that what? Are you talking? Are you legit? Are you being legit?
I'm misleading the audience slightly.
Oh, okay. This is a big claim.
Potentially.
Let's have a big claim.
Okay, so I took a couple little notes, so you'll have to bear with me. This is okay. In a nutshell, we put up this $10 billion telescope a few years ago, James Webb Space Telescope, right?
The JWST.
That's it. And one of its functions was it is going to be able to scan the atmospheres of distant planets that are orbiting stars.
Somehow.
And it can determine their chemical composition it can determine certain components of their atmosphere.
Yes. And the Hubble would have been getting a pretty decent list together of places that they liked.
But they didn't have
maybe wanted to check out a bit more.
The instruments. They didn't have instruments that JWST has.
Exactly.
The JWST has a whole pile of instruments, all that have different functions and do different things, and all to do with light though. The thing's a telescope, so all it can do is measure different amounts of light.
Infrared as well though, right? With JWST.
That's right. And I can forget all the names. There's heaps of different, I don't know what they do, but we don't really need to know that. So there's this exoplanet that they're calling K2 K2-18b.
That is so catchy.
We'll just call it K2.
I think there's a billion K2s, but yeah, let's go K2.
They, about 2 years ago, so yeah, 2023, they used one of the instruments on this planet. Remember, they're scanning heaps of exoplanets. The James Webb Space Telescope has a whole list of experiments and things it's supposed to be doing, and they just work through them as and when required. So in 2023, they pointed this thing at K2, and they reported one of the instrument they were using, because they can't use all the instruments at the same time. They have to, my understanding. So they reported the potential presence of dimethyl sulfide and dimethyl disulfide.
Okay, what does that mean?
So let me just see here. Now that means, look, at the end of the day, it means it's a life. It's something that is only, as far as we understand, it is only produced by life as we know it. So in our situation, and we're not saying we found life. I'm just going to say this to begin with. No one's claiming we've found life. But we've detected certain anomalies.
Yeah. But if the JWST picked up poo, right, on a distant planet, we've just discovered life. All right. You
can infer. It's an inference. It's an inference.
But what kind of level of proof is attainable with our current technology setup, which is obviously fuck all, right? Can't even get to the moon. What kind of level of proof do we need? Because like you said, like if there are proteins that excrete from the very, very, very basic forms of life, then we can ascertain from that it's highly likely that life is there. Is that right?
But that's not scientific enough for
that's fair enough.
Me and most of the community. But no, you're right, bang on track. Very quickly, so dimethyl sulfide and dimethyl disulfide are produced primarily by simple organisms. They're most prolifically produced by phytoplankton and other marine microbes and bacteria.
There you go. The troglodyte things, or whatever they're called. Very early life things.
Yes. Researchers estimate that dimethyl sulfide concentrations are more than 10 parts per million by volume, compared to less than 1 part per billion for them here on Earth. So it's thousands of times greater than we have here on Earth, which is a little bit concerning.
Probably too much, if you ask me.
Probably too much.
Probably too many of the shrimp kicking about. You need some higher forms of life to go and cut the numbers down a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's like, we've detected something that only exists on life, but it exists in quantities that far surpass what we have here.
That makes sense though, because Earth would have gone through a period much like that, where the only types of life that were being there would have been a time where life existed without really any predators. So
this was in 2023, right? And they detected the potential presence of this, and they only gave it a 70% possibility.
Yeah, nuke it. I'm done.
Second study.
Send Jack O'Neill, get him in there, nuke the joint.
2 weeks ago, they use a different instrument that scrutinizes different wavelengths, and they were looking for fingerprints of dimethyl sulfide and dimethyl disulfide. But this can be regarded as an independent line of evidence, because the way they regard it as independent line of evidence, because detecting different features that would be present if it is what they think it is. And now, apparently, the signal came through strong and clear, and they're 99.7% certain.
99.7%.
Now, after being 68% certain from the first study. So they think there's a 0.3% chance that it might be a statistical fluke.
Could be a fluke. We're not sure.
And then this is a quote. Even with that certainty, there is still the question of what is the origin of this gas, which is, I guess, the next layer of we can be pretty sure now that it's there. Our understanding is that this is only produced by.
So unless our understanding is wrong,
yes,
then we've got some. Look, 99.7% chance that, hey, this shit, the gas is happening. The gas is on this planet. Yeah, okay. I think as a species, I'm talking about humanity here, we've really missed our opportunity for this to be a reveal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it comes out in the paper tomorrow, says life on another planet, and everyone goes, yeah, kind of already, of course there is. We kind of know. We know. Everybody knows that there's life elsewhere. We know. Whereas 100 years ago, if they were like, "Wait, dude, there's life on another planet," people would have lost their minds. Would have been like, "What?"
I'm going to come back to that. I have a thought on that, and I cannot agree more with you. I just want to read you a couple of quotes from the scientists, because I think you need to hear it from someone who actually understands more what is going on.
Yeah, let's hear it from you, being a conduit for these scientists.
Okay, number one, given everything we know about this planet, a Hycean world, Hycean just means a water world, with an ocean that is teeming with life is the scenario that best fits the data we have.
Say that again. Teeming with life.
Yeah, a Halcyon world with an ocean that is teeming with life is the scenario that best fits the data we have. So
based on the data, could be space sharks.
Space shark. Ooh, I like that. Okay, then this is the strongest evidence yet there is possibility of life out there. I can realistically say that we can confirm this signal within 1 to 2 years.
What does that mean? Confirm the signal?
No, take it from 99.7% to 100%, but then we still don't know what the origin of the gas is. We would have to come up with some other mechanism that this gas is being produced that is not life. And that hasn't been discussed. No one's come forward and said this is another possibility. And I mean, there could be lots of possibilities. I don't know. I don't understand how these things work. But the fact that no one has said, "Oh, this is an option," and this has been out there and discussed a lot. Another quote: "If the association with life is real, then this planet will be teeming with life."
Space sharks. Wow.
And then lastly, if we can confirm there is life on K2-18b, it should basically confirm that life is very common in the galaxy.
Yeah. I think,
and this is what you were saying.
Again, I think we all kind of know that.
No, but I said life is probably common, and we just haven't got to the point of detecting it yet to my boss at work.
Right.
And he basically just laughed it off, like we're unique and there's no evidence. This is getting towards evidence. We just don't. My point was we don't have it, because 400 years ago we thought the Earth was the center of the universe. If you said that to someone 450 years ago, they would have laughed at you. 300 years ago, we thought stars were distant points of light, not like our sun. And now we know our sun is a star. The other stars are also suns.
Yeah.
They're the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just one of them's relatively close to us.
Yeah.
100 years ago, we thought our galaxy was the center of the entire universe.
Why would we think that?
Because we couldn't detect galaxies outside our own. The light was too faint.
It was more that if you stood still, you could sort of like rotate around. You know what I mean? And to say we're going around something while all that's happening, that's a stretch. Like their model makes more sense.
They just couldn't detect it. We couldn't see it. So we could only see stars in our neighborhood. The other very, very distant points of light, they appear to be stars, but they're actually 200 billion stars. But we couldn't distinguish a point of light with 200 billion stars between a star that is in our own galaxy that's way, 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 way closer. They just look the same until you start getting telescopes. So 70 years ago, I'm going through our ignorance and how things change. 70 years ago, we thought our solar system was unique in hosting planets. We didn't know that there were planets that orbited other stars because we hadn't detected them. And it's not as simple as saying, "Oh, it seems so obvious now," but 70 years ago,
because we are orbiting something, it's likely to assume
it seems so
other
obvious,
things
right?
Are orbiting other things. Sure.
Yeah, and it seems obvious now, but I'm just saying that if you said that to someone 80 years ago, they'd say that is just horse shit.
Well, they could say there's no evidence to support that, and they'd be right.
Exactly. 25 years ago, we thought the Earth was unique in hosting water, and by extension, life. Now we know there's heaps of water on the moon.
No, that's quite well known.
On Mars.
Actually, that's still true because, Earth has like a bucket feel to it. It's a bit like a bucket. So water can go in the bucket. But other planets, you can't put water in them. They're not bucketed. They're not properly bucketed. There's no way water's going to go in there and stay there. It's an absolute joke.
So, in this period of 400 years, we now know that stars, galaxies, exoplanets, and water are common, none of which, at a certain point, we thought any of them was possible. So what's going to be common knowledge in the future?
100 years. Oh, boy.
Exactly. And why would life not be common? This is the other thing I keep telling people. I'm not talking about intelligent life. I'm just talking about life elsewhere.
Yep.
There's no reason. If water's common, so what's going to happen is James Webb Space Telescope may have detected a sign of life on a planet 124 light years away, which is quite close in the scheme of things.
That is close.
This will be the moment that people start. Now it's out there. It's going to be talked about more over time where people, and then in 10 years time, everyone's just going to go like, oh yeah, of course there's life on other planets. We won't have encountered aliens, but I'll say, yeah, there's life. There's, there's moss or whatever.
There's probably
bacteria.
other space programs going on as well.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you just watched Men in Black, but you pretty much just did Tommy Lee Jones's famous quote from Men in Black.
Yeah,
which is
what was
brilliant. So the day of Jay, you know how he asks Jay to be in the Men in Black, and what does that mean? Well, you have to give up your life, and you have to sort of be a special agent for the Men in Black forever, and you have to give up your memories as well. And he'll say like, he was sort of like pondering whether or not he wants to do it or not. And Kay, played by Tommy Lee Jones, says, 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that humans were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. And it's such a good quote. It's profound. And more profound for Jay, the Will Smith's character, who I don't like, because he just found out that aliens existed 15 minutes ago. Because he saw them. And Kay is going to memory wipe him so that he can't remember that he just saw aliens if he doesn't want the gig. And there's a joke they pull where he's like, the first time Jay, which is Will Smith's character, witnesses Tommy Lee Jones' character flashy thing someone, he goes like, hey man, have you ever flashy thinged me? And he's like, no, I haven't. And he's like, hey man, don't you lie to me. Have you ever flashy thinged me? And he had flashy thinged him, I think once. Yeah. Or maybe he didn't. I can't remember. It's been a while. I'm not watching it again. All right? It's just a good quote.
I like it a lot. It's interesting that he said 1,500 years ago we knew
Earth was the center of the universe.
Earth was the center of the solar system.
Ah.
Or whatever. What was it? What did he say?
It was he did say the center of the universe, at least in this quote.
Oh, well, I'm picking, sorry, it's all the same shit. It's different. He was different thing. I was saying
heliocentrism is different.
Yes.
So heliocentrism
exactly.
is...
Because that was only proposed 500 years ago.
Yeah.
Copernicus, and he died for that.
The sun is revolving around us, which
the church did not like that. So this was just after Leonardo da Vinci. Copernicus proposed the heliocentric model, and I'm pretty sure he was executed. It was either that or he released it on his deathbed because, that was Kepler. Kepler refined the heliocentric model, but he didn't release the paper.
Too scared.
Until he was too scared.
It's dangerous information, dude. People want you dead for it.
Could you imagine?
What's the difference?
Let people know.
What's the difference between like being a sort of UFO whistleblower today? You know what I mean? Like those guys, they get hounded. They get like badgered. They get annoyed. They get threats. All sorts of stuff. There's no church anymore. Like the church isn't involved, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a good point.
Anyway, the Pope's back. A bit of a
Leo.
hiatus. He's in. Pope Leo.
Yeah, he's in the hot seat.
Yeah, first American, which they were really making a big deal out of. First American-born Pope. And I was like, well, how many opportunities have you really had to have an American Pope? I mean, you guys have only been around since like the late 1700s. It's only a couple of 100 years. Like, what are popes doing? They're doing a fucking 10-year stint, 15-year stint, right? So there's been like 25 opportunities to get a pope, and you got one. That's pretty quick, really.
Yeah,
that's
I like
pretty
those
quick.
odds. Yeah. When's Australia going to get one?
Exactly. Probably next. You'd imagine. Probably next. Is he a young man? I haven't really checked his record too much.
He's 69.
It's a good age to pope up. Do you think he'll retire, or do you think he'll stay in the gig?
I thought they only stayed in the gig, and
But
this is my
yeah,
naivete.
No, but they
Yeah,
yeah,
they can just relinquish. They just have quit.
a bit frowned upon, I would have thought.
Yeah.
No, Pope Leo's in. He did a lot of his mission stuff in Peru, is my understanding. Been in the College of Cardinals for about 6 years now. So look, the avenue for Popey to get Popey, you don't have to like become a cardinal at age 30 and like sit around for 20 years and then, schmoozing all the other cardinals, and then 10 years maybe you'll be the Pope. It's literally go and do stuff, right? Get in the college like 5 years, 5, 6 years, and then boom. You just got to wait for the big dog and then you're in.
Okay. Well, I've heard he's called for peace. And he's trying to stop the war. Him and Trump are aligned. I reckon the Ukraine war's days are numbered.
Yeah, well, because there's an American Pope and Trump's anti.
Yeah,
the war.
Alignment.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to go to the White House? Do popes do that? Do popes leave the Vatican? I mean, they do. They do. The Pope went to, where'd he go? He went to
Timor-Leste.
And
some
people
other
were popping
places
off.
around there.
I heard they were quite sad when he died because they had a bit of a more connection to him than because he actually went there. So that's pretty cool.
Put them on the map. So I see here that Pope Leo introduced himself as an Augustinian.
Yeah, I think it's the first Augustinian as well. These are just sects of the Catholic Church.
An order within the Catholic Church that follows the teachings of Saint Augustine of Hippo.
Yes. So Francis, I believe, was from the Society of Jesus, which is the Jesuits, which Tony Abbott wanted to be a minister of, I believe. So
Tony Abbott didn't have the credentials, did he?
I think he just found other stuff to do, like become prime minister or something. I don't know.
Triathlons.
He just did other stuff. Yeah. I don't think he would have been happy with like the dress schedule. Like, I don't think he would have been happy with the dress attire. He has to wear the big priestly garbs when he just wants to be down the beach with his bits out. You know what I mean?
Oh no. Pope Leo 13. Oh no.
What do you mean?
Is he superstitious?
Oh, you bloody hope not.
I like 13.
You've got God on your
personally.
side.
Do you know why I like 13?
Well, I like 13.
I like 13 because it's the 12 apostles and Jesus.
Right. But that's probably why it's unlucky, right? Well, it's actually unlucky because the 13th of October or whatever was when all the Freemasons got rounded up and executed or whatever. Or the Knights Templar. Knights Templar. Yeah, so they all got rounded up and fucked up, and that's why the 13th is considered unlucky.
Yeah, I thought they were quite happy. I thought the Freemasons quite liked the number 13. Otherwise,
it was the Templars.
I mean, I know the Templars are different. They're sort of linked though. Like sometimes to be a Templar, you've got to be a Freemason. Like there's some linkages.
There is a bit of linkage, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of linkages, really. There's shit tons of linkages. The Knights Templar were cruising around, keeping the Holy Land safe in medieval times or thereabouts, and they had shitloads of money. And they would protect people who were making pilgrimages to Jerusalem. And they considered the Temple Mount / where...
Dome of the Rock.
Well, no, it wouldn't. It would have been the other one back then. Solomon's Temple. They would have regarded that as like home base. And Freemasons obviously revere Solomon's Temple because every Freemasonic temple is meant to resemble in some way, shape or form Solomon's Temple, because they've got the great thing about that era is we've got all the docs that tell you exactly how big shit has to be. I mean, it goes back even further. We know what the Ark of the Covenant would have looked like because there's so many descriptions of it that people can recreate them and all that sort of stuff and put it into films and all that sort of shit. So those objects likely and I'm talking about the Ark of the Covenant there, likely existed and was kicking around for a long time, and who knows where it is. Heard a pretty sexy one the other day that it's in America.
hit me.
Like the Ark of the Covenant sitting inside some Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in like Virginia somewhere or something, just in a box, like out in the open.
I heard this one Knights Templar guy who was on Joe Rogan. Oh no, he was on. You put me onto it, wasn't it, Joe Rogan?
That was an interesting chat, wasn't it? Super interesting guy.
Yeah, he reckons there's multiple Arks of the Covenant, and I think that the Knights Templar have like 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah, they were like, we got one of them. We've got one of them. He was like, what? Yeah, no, we've got it.
It's weird. They have these crypts or safes that they have all their important stuff in. And although he was really high up, like that's high, almost as high up as you can get in the Knights Templar. He was like the head of the whole North America sort of division. He had never been in there.
Yeah.
So how high do you have to go?
Well, if you believe that the Ark of the Covenant's in Ethiopia or whatever, then you believe that it's being guarded by one guy who generally goes blind.
Yeah.
I love that's the sexiest part about the whole thing is that all of the protectors of the Ark are going blind. Like it's some sort of like radiation thing or something.
I didn't know they were going blind. It's probably just a hereditary eye issue. And
it's probably a hereditary eye issue and the fact that they spend a lot of time inside. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just fascinating.
It's the same family. It's with generation after generation of the same family. Bit of pressure to have a child, and particularly I'd imagine in Ethiopia, a male child. I mean, I'm all for diversity, equality, and inclusion, but when they're protecting the Ark of the Covenant, I just think that they would probably prefer, someone who's 6'5".
You say protect the Ark of the Covenant. They're not bouncers. They're more akin to monks or abbots.
What if it gets physical?
Dude, it has. It has got physical.
We should just try and bust our way in there.
People have busted in there.
Yeah? Have they seen anything?
Probably.
Because how well defended can it be? If they've got the Ark of the Covenant.
It can't be that well defended. If there's one bloke who guards it at any one time, that is not sufficient for a object of its importance.
Because Ethiopia has that, they still revere the Ark of the Covenant, and they even have a day of celebration where they all make little Arks of the Covenant and they dance around with them.
Yeah, look, there's a rich history, and I believe it's because the Queen of Sheba allegedly took it or had it brought to her, and she was in Ethiopia. So Ethiopia and ancient Egypt, very similar in the sense that when Egypt was unified, Upper and Lower Egypt, that it was a very big area, and we're talking about areas of what's directly south of Egypt.
There's something then Ethiopia.
No, Ethiopia is to the east. You've got something directly underneath it. Anyway, there's a country there. So that's the rumor is that she somehow came into the possession of
Sudan.
Sudan. Okay.
Gee, Sudan's big.
Yeah. We're back to Egypt though.
Yeah, it keeps coming back, doesn't it?
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, man.
I've asked ChatGPT to come up with some stuff because I, like you, and correct me if I'm wrong, don't think the pyramids were tombs.
Oh, I don't actually think anyone thinks that anymore.
I think
people think it.
That.
No, but there's no. That's. I don't think anyone that's actually considered it thinks that.
Right. Okay.
Because there's actually no evidence of that.
Well, just to play devil's advocate, there's a box in the Great Pyramids, what people call the King's Chamber. There's a box in there.
Yeah. That doesn't
prove it. No, it doesn't.
Nothing.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I'm just telling you what they would point to.
Yeah.
No bodies have been found. So I asked ChatGPT,
and that was sealed when they first blew into that. 800 AD. That was just an empty coffer.
Was there an
empty box?
Was there a lid?
There was no lid. No lid, just an empty box.
Why would they seal it shut?
No one. It just doesn't make any sense.
Because like
Does not make any sense.
Because what I did ask ChatGPT to do is to come up with some. If they're not tombs, give me something that they could be.
That's good. Yeah, what's it reckon?
It's given me 6 different things, and I'm really interested straight off the bat in the order that it's put these in. Okay?
I'm going to go. I think it's an initiation chamber.
That's what you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Because I think even Freemasons now can be initiated in that chamber. So that
What
guy
chamber?
who was in the King's chamber, the Knights Templar guy, said on that podcast that once a year they essentially get given permission to go in there and do initiations in the King's chamber of the Great Pyramid.
It's fucked up. I know that if you want to be a 33rd degree Mason, you have to do that in Washington. Like, you have to go to the actual main spot, which is crazy. If you haven't seen that building, it's a insane building. Okay, number 1 on the list, astronomical observatories. Some suggest the pyramids were aligned with celestial bodies like Orion's Belt or Sirius, and have served as observatories or calendars to mark solstices, equinoxes, or stellar cycles. That's straight off the bat. That's kind of nice. I mean, the fact that it faces north-south so beautifully, like we pointed out many times, does make it a very good calendar / marker.
Yeah, could just be a big north, south, east, west.
Too big for that. I think I'm going to put that in the bin purely because it's just too big. Unless you were also trying to encode the size of the Earth inside your time capsule calendar thing, fine. But other than that, I don't like that one. Energy generators, in brackets it says fringe theory. Big claims. A more speculative theory is that the pyramids were designed to harness or transmit energy. It says piezoelectric or electromagnetic energy. No solid evidence backs this, but it's possible. It's a popular concept in alternative science communities.
It's fun.
It's fun. Water pump or hydrological structure. Now, this goes a bit to what people have been going crazy over lately, which is if you look at a TikTok or whatever, it's going to be those 8 pipes that go down very far. We're talking hundreds of meters. Some researchers, e.g. Edward Kunkel, who I've never heard of, theorized the Great Pyramid was part of a giant water pump system. This idea is based on supposed internal layouts and chambers resembling hydraulic features. So
my only issue with that
is
they had lots of water. The Nile flooded once a year for 3 months. It was completely flooded. They couldn't have actually even worked on the pyramids because the flooding's so great.
Well, maybe they were using it as a way to control the flow.
Yeah, look,
need a bit more, need a bit less.
But it's just like,
I get what you're saying. It's
a fertile river valley. It's like naturally irrigated.
Well, okay, then I'll throw something else in the mix then. Hydroelectricity. Okay, if we've got the water that's being used in some way to generate power, then we could have a reason why they would want water going in and around it.
The problem I have with the energy generation, I like it because all our big infrastructure is energy or water related. So
you don't build something big unless it's going to be something that does something.
Huge. Yeah. No, not to be underestimated. This is huge. So I like energy. The problem I have is, what were they using energy for?
Light bulbs.
It brings like the next question where I'm just like, why do you need this much energy? What were you doing with it? And I struggle there. That's my issue.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. Number 4, initiation centers or mystery schools. The pyramids may have been spiritual or ritual centers used by priests for initiation, symbolic death and rebirth ceremonies, or advanced learning. This is more esoteric but connects with ancient Egyptian religion and myth. So that's, again, completely believable except for the fact that it was sealed. Yeah. How are you meant to use the space if you've sealed it shut? Who sealed it shut? Was it sealed shut at construction? Yeah. Was it sealed shut later?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Why would you build something that big as an initiation chamber as well? That's the problem.
This big structure for this tiny... The room is tiny. It's like a fucking golf course. They've got a hole this big and a building the size of the fucking galaxy. All right. records, repositories, or time capsules. Another theory, which is pretty fucking based off what we just said, which is if you needed to build the largest structure on Earth for thousands of years just so you could have a little room to put a few things in and then seal it all up, time capsule, baby. Just dig a hole. Honestly, just dig a fucking hole next time. This was a waste of time, if that's what it was for. Okay, but this is another theory that suggests the pyramids, especially the Great Pyramid, was designed to preserve knowledge through symbolism, mathematics, or architecture, perhaps even a lost civilization like Atlantis. The theory is often tied to the Hall of Records idea from Edgar Casey. The Hall of Records thing is super interesting. I've heard it pop up many times, mainly underneath one of the paws of the Sphinx should hold the Hall of Records, which makes me super excited anytime something happens at the Sphinx or people get excited about the Sphinx. I get excited about the Sphinx.
Why can't we just do transparent archaeological expeditions and things related to this? Like, why they actually don't let?
Well, I think you've seen the Scans Pyramid project, right, where they plant those sensors various places in the pyramid. It actually looks like a fair bit of setup. Okay, it's not something we can just fly over with a plane and go bang, 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 bang. But when
potential
we can,
Hall of Records, it would change everything.
Some people,
it would be the biggest find of all time. Don't we want to find the biggest find of all time? Like,
yeah. I think the technology needs to catch up a little bit. When Graham Hancock was saying we need to LiDAR the Amazon. If anyone's rich, has too much money, LiDAR the Amazon, you'll be the most famous archaeologist of all time. So why haven't we LiDAR'd the Giza Plateau? If that's indeed where we're at, where we haven't even LiDAR'd that, what are we doing? Like, what's going on?
Well, I don't think LiDAR...
It wouldn't really help, because it's to get through the canopy is the idea of the LiDAR. So you're right. That wouldn't really help much.
Do something. Just sink all our resources into properly exploring
Who's got the money? Where's the money? Where's the money?
I've heard that they've done... See, this is the problem I have with this latest thing I've heard about the pipes under the...
whatever you want to call them.
Pyramid called? Yeah,
Khufus.
Khufus. Isn't that the first one? Yeah, it's Khufu...
Khafre.
Khafre. The problem I have is, maybe. I'm like, maybe. I've fallen. I'm saying it could be. I just haven't looked into it, and I don't. The data. I'm waiting for someone of repute to just tell me what's going on.
I don't know.
Well, always I can't verify this stuff myself.
It's not about verifying. It's like,
I want consensus. I want people to analyze the data.
We don't have consensus on pretty much anything we've discussed tonight.
I haven't even heard anyone of repute say that this is real. The only thing I've heard is people of repute saying this is fake. That's the only thing I've heard.
Don't you think that it's very easy, right? Like, let's say that a very big YouTuber comes out. Now, he'd want to have done his homework if he's going to make any claims as to whether or not it's bullshit or it's legit. He'll want to have done his homework, right? But once one person of, as you claim, reputableness comes out and says something, it almost makes it impossible for the others to take a contrary point of view because they're just like, hasn't old mate already looked at this? This is
no, but you can scrutinize what they're basing their opinion on.
That's what I'd like to see.
Look at the data.
That's what I'd like to see. Yeah, as long as people are using the data that's been given and not other shit. But like, we need more of that, and if people are going to make those claims, you're right, they need to provide quite a bit of evidence. But hey, let's just have a quick peek. Should we have a quick look?
This one's
Like, should we just check under one brick or something? I don't know how this works, but can't we just have a quick? You know how the LiDAR project's going on in the Great? Can we just shift that over to Khafre's just for like 10 minutes? Can we just borrow that tech? Because the biggest thing that they said is bullshit about it is that this stuff doesn't penetrate too far through the ground. So all these inferences of 300 meters going down is based off nonsense. Well, I'm like, what about the other one? Get that one, pop it over there. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
And if there's anything, let's pop the lid off.
Pop the lid right off, yeah. Let's get right into it. Like, once we find out something there, let's dig this bastard up.
Well, you know how they only discovered that, like, the Easter Island statues had legs and stuff because they dug them out and they went, holy shit, they've actually got, like, legs and stuff. These guys have been buried over time. Like, when did they get to the base of the pyramid and go, that's it, stop, that's it, there's nothing else. Nothing else under this.
Took a long time to get to the base of the pyramid.
It would
a long time. Yeah. So they didn't they were, because it was covered by sand, like huge amounts of sand.
Yeah, I think when the
And
Sphinx
so,
was like not rediscovered, but when people were going through there and documenting it, it's the only thing that was exposed was the head. The head was just popping out of the desert. So yeah, a lot of sand movement, a lot of time,
huge
and
amounts of time.
somewhat
So,
abandoned in some stretch.
like the early measurements of the Great Pyramid of Giza, they were trying to get its perimeter. It kept getting longer as time went on because they kept excavating more and more of the base. And then eventually, when they got right down to the ground level and found the foundation stones on the corners, that was actually quite exciting because they still had the original polished limestone that was the outer casing, because that had been covered up and they took all the rest of the outer casing, and they could
Unless you're
determine
talking
the
about the
angle.
top of Khafre. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they could determine the angle of incidence of the polished limestone, and now they have a very it's like 51 degrees 51 minutes.
They always
of
talk about that
inclination.
precision and stuff. You can't really base that off a cornerstone, right? Like I know
No,
that's
but
what
you
they're
have,
doing.
yeah, you have it there, and you know, because you've lost the top of the pyramid, right? So you can see exactly where the top of the pyramid went, based on assuming that they're
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just we talk about the precision and stuff when realistically all of it's gone from the Great Pyramid.
no. So on the bottom
The
layer,
bottom, sure.
So you're saying the bottom layer,
Yeah.
it deviates. It's flat to within. It's about, I think it's 130 meters long, and it's flat to within a quarter of an inch.
Yeah, it makes no sense. You can still see evidence of the casing stones on Khafre, the center one, because that was not removed. Everything else was just shipped over to Cairo to build walls and shit.
But it's been weathered horribly, whereas the stones
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
that
bottom
makes
that they
sense.
found have been protected in
And
the
you've
same way
seen
that
this
the head
in
of...
ancient Egypt when they'll just reconstruct a wall or something. They'll pop a pyramid back up here and there. Like you've seen this, right? This conservation.
Well, yeah, the Sphinx has had heaps of work done
heaps
to
of
it. It's
brickwork
really
done on the
sad.
toenails. Oh my god, like a lot.
Because the Sphinx was originally carved from the bedrock as one piece of rock attached to the actual rock that's there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is insane. And now, if you look at it, it looks like bricks.
Well, no, the front does. The front looks like bricks. 100.
Yes,
like,
yeah, they've done
bricks.
heaps of work because it's just gotten like
Good.
old. It's super old.
It's
But then
old.
you don't know. Then you're trying to date the thing, and you're like, well, when were the renovations done? No one actually. They don't actually talk about that. They just go, oh, it was, this day.
Like when was the head changed? We don't really know.
They don't know when. They don't even know if it was, but it's just obvious that it was.
It definitely was. It
to
was
a-
chipped away,
yeah.
dinosaured.
Yeah, and they
It was
can
way
do
bigger
like
before.
perfect carvings, all in perfect proportion and symmetry, and you're going to say they just did a small-headed fucking rat?
So where did we land on the symmetrical heads thing? Just so I can report back to my mate. Is that a mystery? We don't know how they did it.
Totally, yeah.
And was this a specific dynastical period, or are we talking like this was a motif? Because obviously it wouldn't be present throughout all of ancient Egyptian history, these symmetrical statues. They can't...
Well, it was I believe it's the early stuff again.
It's always
all
the early stuff, man. It's always the early stuff's always the best, man, isn't it?
Have you seen some of the vases?
Yeah,
Not
of
as
course.
sexy.
The ones that have been like caught out, right? So again, we're talking about like diorite. We're talking about the hardest rocks,
The hardest
ever.
stone.
And
we couldn't make
I know about
vases,
the vases,
like this
man.
now.
It's disgusting.
But they're perfect. So inside the vase is all the exact same width, and it can be really thin.
Yeah,
the
thin.
exact same width the whole way. And there's like flat parts on some of the handles that are completely perpendicular and or parallel, depending if it's 9 degrees or the same. So they've done laser imaging of them, and they're perfect. You're just like, and then what's cool is you find these amazing vases, these incredible ones, and then in the same area, they've found imitations of the perfect one. So you can see they've tried to make vases look like this other one, and they're like shitty clay rubbish ones that they paint the same. And so you can tell that this speaks of another time. It's an heirloom that gets passed down, and they're trying to recreate the amazing stonework, but they can't. They don't have the technology's been lost.
Lost technology. Yeah, for sure. the
And
ability to do it
when you
is
see
gone.
when you see the amazing one, which is a work of art, it's stunning, and you see these crappy imitations, which are still cool, but it's like if I tried to make it, you can just tell what's going on. It's so obvious that they were revering this amazing stonework, but they just can't. They don't have the ability to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Not even close. And the same thing happened with the pyramids. Although the 6th century, the 6th dynasty, 5th dynasty ones are terrible. They're all fallen over. They don't even resemble pyramids anymore.
No,
and the
they're just a
3rd
pile
and
of rocks.
4th
Yeah.
are still here.
And they're the biggest.
And they're going to be here for millennia longer.
Yeah,
Total lost technology.
It took me a very, very long time to work out in my own head how that's even possible for these gradual step down. And I did work it out. As far as I'm concerned, I've worked out this problem. And I've probably talked to you about it before, but I just think it's as we get better at doing stuff, we want to get more efficient at it, not more artsy about it. We just want to get it done. Pop up some walls, bang, that's a house. Whereas before it was everything was beautiful. Architecture was more revered and stuff. Now it's function over form. Back then it was all form over function. It was like, no. I know we don't need to have 17-meter high pillars, but I want 17 high meter pillars because it's how I'm going to show my appreciation to the gods. So if you think I'm going to pop up a little one, yeah, get those vases. I want that skinnier at the top. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be really difficult, but you need to do it. So I just think it was, I think different things are valued. And I think that it's quite well known as well that as you go through ancient Egypt, they're not as well off as they used to be. So it's like, look, we've kind of bankrupted ourselves with these big dumb projects, the water pump machine or whatever the hell we've got kicking out back. We've really blown the budget on this shit. All of a sudden, everyone's getting buried in the Valley of the Kings. We've just got little rock-cut tombs for everybody. No one's getting fucking big temples anymore. No one's getting a big funeral mortuary center like Ramesses. No. You're gonna get lopped in the fucking in the little cave. You're gonna live in there, like, you know what I mean? It's weird, but it makes sense for there to be that step down. Because I couldn't figure it out before. I was like, so you do all your best shit in the first couple of few hundred years, and then you just start getting really shit at that stuff. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. They're stunning, and then. Again, if you put in context that they were at least built 5,000 years ago, 4,500 years ago, at least, and all the other ancient monuments that we think are amazing, the ancient wonders of the world were all built around 2,000 years ago and no longer remain in any sense.
Yeah.
Some of them are mythological, where we just think they may have talked about.
Yep.
Whereas these things...
Still there.
Twice as old and will continue to be 4 times.
Let's not beat around the bush. The ancient Egyptian pyramids are not preserved. They are ruins.
They are the skeletons.
They are ruins. Okay, yep. Much like you'd go to a site, ancient Greek ruins, ancient Roman ruins. You look at any of the ancient Roman ruins, they had to dig that shit out of the dirt, prop it back up. It gets destroyed. Time is a bitch. So it's
What's
pretty
that
incredible.
Quote? Man fears time.
Time fears the pyramids.
Time fears the pyramids, yeah. I love that.
It's a great quote. It's a great quote.
Well, one day I'll go back.
Yeah, you want to go back?
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
You have to go. Man, you should go.
Yeah. Well, I will have to go.
You should do it.
Yeah. I will have
You
to
could
go.
do it.
I could do it.
You could totally do it.
I could do it.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I could do it.
All right, well, I might have to send you off with a dance.
I'm going to send it off with a dance. Thanks for joining us. I'm Val. He's Nate. We are the Vacuous Perspective, and we will be back next week.
Thanks all. Sorry, my dinner's in its final stages.